Ladies and gentlemen, life does not pause for contemplation. It does not stop to ask if we are ready, nor does it concern itself with our hesitations. Time, indifferent and relentless, moves forward with or without our consent. Every second that passes is a moment lost, never to return. Whether we choose to act or remain still, the world continues to spin, opportunities rise and fall, and the river of existence flows forward, uncaring of whether we drift with it or fight against its current. Many spend their days waiting for inspiration, waiting for the right circumstances, waiting until they feel strong enough, wise enough or ready enough to take the next step. But the truth is, readiness is an illusion. There is no perfect time, no ideal moment when all elements align in harmony to make our path easy. What we have is now, and what we do with it determines the course of our lives. Those who wait often find that time has passed them by, leaving them standing at the same crossroads, no closer to their goals than they were before. Every sunrise brings with it a silent choice. We can rise with purpose, embracing the day with all its uncertainty and challenges, or we can let it slip away in distraction and hesitation. Life does not stop because we are uncertain. It does not slow down because we are afraid. The moments we waste in doubt and indecision are moments forever lost, never to be reclaimed. And yet, so many of us act as if time is an infinite resource, as if tomorrow is guaranteed. We procrastinate, we make excuses, and we convince ourselves that there will always be another chance. But the truth is harsh. The only time we truly own is the present. There is a tendency in human nature to believe that we are the center of existence, that somehow the world waits for us. But reality is far less forgiving. The world moves forward with or without us. Others continue to strive, to build, to improve, while those who hesitate remain stagnant. The more we delay action, the further we fall behind. The dreams we once held so clearly in our minds begin to fade, replaced by regret and what-ifs. People often fear change, thinking that standing still is the safer option. But stillness is an illusion. In a world that is constantly moving, to stand still is, in fact, to move backward. The opportunities that exist today may not exist tomorrow. The energy and health we take for granted will one day diminish. The relationships we assume will always be there may slip away while we are busy hesitating. If we do not move forward, if we do not actively engage in the process of becoming, we risk waking up one day to find that life has passed us by. Growth requires movement. It requires action, even in the face of uncertainty. The great figures of history, the innovators, the leaders, the visionaries, none of them waited for permission to act. They did not wait for ideal circumstances. They stepped forward despite the risks, despite their fears, despite the unknown. And in doing so, they shaped their own destinies. The same choice stands before all of us. Do we step forward into the unknown, embracing the discomfort of growth? Or do we remain where we are, allowing life to push ahead without us? Comfort is a dangerous trap. It whispers that where we are is good enough, that we need not strive for more, that we can always begin tomorrow. But tomorrow is not promised, and comfort often turns into stagnation. Those who refuse to change, who resist the natural movement of life, find themselves left behind. The world will not slow down to accommodate our fears. It will not stop so that we may catch our breath. And when we finally realize this, when we see how much time we have allowed to slip through our fingers, the weight of regret can be unbearable. But there is another path. Instead of fearing the passage of time, we can embrace it. Instead of mourning lost opportunities, we can create new ones. The past is unchangeable, but the present is in our hands. Every moment offers a choice, to move forward or to remain behind. Those who choose action, who take ownership of their time and energy, will find that life rewards movement. It does not guarantee success, but it guarantees experience, learning, and growth. Some will argue that they are too late, that they have wasted too much time, that the world has already moved beyond them. But this is just another illusion. Life does not wait, but it also does not lock its doors. The opportunity to begin again exists for as long as we breathe. The only true failure is refusing to try. If we understand that life moves forward regardless of our hesitation, then the only logical response is to move with it. to engage fully, to live with intention, to act decisively. There is no benefit in standing still while the world changes around us. If we do not evolve, we become relics of the past, echoes of what could have been. But if we choose movement, if we choose to step forward even in uncertainty, we align ourselves with the flow of life itself. The present moment is fleeting, but it is also powerful. It is the only moment where action is possible, where change can begin. The past is unalterable, the future is uncertain, but the now, this breath, this choice, this step is entirely within our grasp. And so the question is not whether life will move forward. It will. The question is whether we will have the courage to move with it. Control is an illusion for many. People spend their lives trying to command the world around them, believing that if they could just shape circumstances to their liking, happiness and success would follow. They attempt to control the opinions of others, the outcomes of events, the behavior of those around them, and even the unpredictable forces of nature. But no matter how much effort they put into bending the world to their will, they inevitably face disappointment. The truth is simple yet difficult to accept. The only thing we truly have control over is ourselves, our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. It is a humbling realization, but also a liberating one. When we shift our focus away from what is beyond our influence and instead master what is within, we gain a power that cannot be taken from us. The external world is chaotic, full of uncertainty and change. Trying to control it is like trying to hold back the ocean with our hands. But within us there is something we can shape. We decide how we think, how we react, and what we do with the circumstances presented to us. This is where true strength lies, not in commanding others, not in manipulating fate, but in governing ourselves with discipline and wisdom. Many people waste energy on matters that are not theirs to control. They agonize over what others think of them, replaying conversations in their minds, hoping to influence opinions that have already been formed. They grow angry when others do not behave as they expect, as if their expectations should dictate reality. They fear outcomes that may never come to pass, allowing their minds to be consumed by possibilities that exist only in imagination. All of this is wasted effort, a drain on energy that could be used for something productive. The world will act as it does, people will think as they wish, and events will unfold in ways that no one can fully predict. Fighting against this reality only leads to frustration and helplessness. Instead, imagine what would happen if all that energy was redirected inward. Instead of obsessing over the opinions of others, one could focus on building genuine confidence, knowing that self-worth is not determined by external validation. Instead of fuming over the behavior of another person, one could cultivate patience and emotional resilience, understanding that anger often harms the one who holds it more than the one it is directed toward. Instead of fearing the unknown, one could prepare themselves mentally and physically, developing skills and wisdom to face whatever comes. The ability to control oneself is what separates those who are at the mercy of life from those who navigate it with purpose. Every day, challenges arise, insults are thrown, plans fall apart, unexpected hardships appear. A person without self-control reacts impulsively, lashing out in anger, wallowing in self-pity, or surrendering to despair. But a person who understands that they are the master of their own mind and actions will approach these difficulties differently. They will recognize that while they cannot stop misfortune from arriving, they can control how they meet it. They can choose patience over frustration, action over passivity, and wisdom over impulse. This control does not come naturally. It must be cultivated with effort and practice. Discipline is required to govern one's thoughts, to prevent them from running wild with worry and fear. It takes effort to pause before reacting, to choose a measured response rather than allowing emotions to dictate behavior. This is why so few master themselves, because it is easier to blame the outside world than to take responsibility for one's own mind and actions. It is easier to say, "They made me angry," rather than admit, "I allowed myself to be angered." But this path of discipline and self-governance is the only one that leads to true freedom. Freedom does not come from controlling others. It does not come from forcing the world into submission. It comes from being unaffected by the chaos around us, from knowing that no matter what happens, we have the power to remain steady. A person who has mastered themselves can walk through the worst of storms with a calm mind. They can face adversity without collapsing under its weight. They are not swayed by praise or criticism, for they know that their worth is not determined by external voices. They are not easily angered, for they understand that other people's actions are not under their control, only their response to them is. This kind of control is rare, but it is available to anyone who chooses it. It does not require wealth, status, or perfect circumstances. It requires only the willingness to take ownership of one's own mind and behavior. This is why some of the strongest individuals are not the loudest, not the ones who impose their will on others, but the ones who possess an unshakable inner strength. They do not demand control over others, because they know the real battle is within. Life will continue to present difficulties, and people will continue to behave in ways that are unfair, unpredictable, or even cruel. The world will not become easier or more accommodating. But the one who controls themselves does not need an easy world. They are prepared for hardship, for uncertainty, for the ever-changing nature of life. Their power comes not from changing the world to fit their desires, but from adapting to whatever comes with clarity and resilience. The choice is always there. One can spend their life chasing control over things that will never be within their grasp, growing frustrated and exhausted in the process. Or they can turn inward and claim the only control that truly matters. The mind can be trained, emotions can be tempered, and actions can be chosen with wisdom rather than impulse. It is not easy, but nothing of real value ever is. And in the end, those who master themselves need control over nothing else, because they have already won the only battle that matters. There is a common illusion that keeps people from taking action, the belief that conditions must be perfect before they can begin. This illusion manifests in many forms. Some believe they need more knowledge, more experience, or more confidence before they start. Others wait for the right timing, assuming that someday the circumstances will align in their favor. They convince themselves that when they have more money, when they feel more prepared, when the world is less chaotic, then they will take the first step. But in truth, the perfect moment never comes. Life does not pause to create an ideal set of circumstances for anyone. The world keeps moving, opportunities arise and disappear, and those who keep waiting find that their lives pass them by while they remain stuck in the same place. Waiting for ideal conditions is a form of hesitation disguised as wisdom. It feels rational to want to prepare, to plan, to wait until the moment feels just right. But behind this hesitation is often fear, the fear of failure, of discomfort, of stepping into the unknown. The mind tricks itself into believing that if it waits long enough, conditions will improve and the risk will be lower. But life does not operate on this kind of schedule. If anything, the longer one waits, the harder it becomes to begin. Comfort becomes a prison, and the longer one remains inside it, the more difficult it is to step out. The most successful people in history did not wait for perfect conditions. They acted despite uncertainty. They moved forward even when they did not feel ready. They understood that progress is made through action, not waiting. No one ever truly feels completely prepared before they begin something significant. Confidence does not precede action, it follows it. Experience is not gained by waiting, it is gained by doing. Those who achieve great things understand that waiting for the perfect moment is a recipe for inaction. They take the opportunities that exist, imperfect as they may be, and work with what they have. Reality is unpredictable. Circumstances change constantly. If one waits for a time when there are no challenges, no obstacles, no risks, they will wait forever. There will always be reasons not to act. There will always be some level of uncertainty, discomfort, or difficulty. The key is to move forward anyway. Action creates momentum. Once the first step is taken, the path becomes clearer. The difficulties that seemed so overwhelming begin to shrink. Not because they have disappeared, but because facing them has built resilience and strength. Most people imagine an ideal future where everything is in place before they start. They tell themselves they will begin exercising when they have more time, start the business when the economy improves, pursue their passion when their responsibilities lighten. But time does not wait. Those who keep delaying their goals eventually look back with regret, realizing that the perfect conditions they were waiting for never arrived. The time they thought they had slipped away while they stood still. Progress is not made in ideal conditions, it is made in real conditions. The ones who move forward in life are not those who had perfect circumstances, but those who acted in imperfect ones. They took risks when others hesitated. They accepted that failure was possible but understood that failure was also a lesson. They did not allow uncertainty to paralyze them. They adapted, they learned, and they improved as they went. The truth is, the best way to prepare for something is to start. Learning happens in the process. Strength is built through challenges. There is no amount of waiting that will eliminate all obstacles. The only way to gain confidence is to step forward, make mistakes, and adjust. The world does not reward those who wait for perfection. It rewards those who take action despite imperfection. Every day spent waiting is a day lost. Those who understand this take action now, not tomorrow. They begin even when they feel uncertain. They work with what they have instead of wishing for something better. And as they move forward, they find that what once seemed impossible becomes achievable, not because conditions changed, but because they changed. By stepping forward despite imperfection, they become stronger, wiser, and more capable. And in the end, they realize that the perfect conditions they were waiting for were never necessary to begin with. Hardship is often seen as an enemy, something to be avoided, feared, or resented. People wish for an easy life free from struggle, discomfort, or adversity. They hope for smooth paths, predictable outcomes, and circumstances that always align with their desires. But life does not work this way. No one is exempt from hardship, no matter how privileged, intelligent, or prepared they may be. Challenges will come, difficulties will arise, and suffering will find its way into every life. However, what truly matters is not the presence of hardship, but how one chooses to face it. Hardship, rather than being a force that breaks a person, can become a teacher, one of the most powerful sources of growth, wisdom, and resilience. When difficulty arrives, the first instinct is often resistance. People ask, why is this happening to me? Or what did I do to deserve this? They see hardship as unfair, a cruel twist of fate designed to make life miserable. But this mindset turns suffering into something meaningless, a pointless burden rather than an opportunity. The reality is that hardship is one of life's greatest teachers. It reveals strength that would otherwise remain undiscovered. It forces adaptation, creativity, and resilience. It exposes weaknesses that need to be addressed and teaches lessons that comfort never could. Growth does not come from ease. No one develops strength by avoiding struggle. Muscles grow when they are pushed beyond their limits. Minds sharpen when faced with complex challenges. Character is built through adversity, not in the absence of it. Those who never experience hardship remain untested, fragile, and easily broken when difficulty inevitably arrives. But those who have endured struggle, who have faced pain and failure and kept going, become unshakable. They know they can withstand life's storms because they have done so before. Every hardship carries a lesson, but it requires the right perspective to see it. Failure teaches humility and perseverance. Loss teaches the value of what is truly important. Pain teaches resilience and patience. Disappointment teaches adaptability. Even the most painful experiences contain wisdom, but only for those willing to seek it. Those who refuse to learn from hardship often find themselves repeating the same struggles, falling into the same patterns, facing the same obstacles over and over again. But those who see difficulty as a teacher grow with each challenge, emerging wiser and stronger each time. Hardship also reveals the truth about oneself. When things are easy, it is simple to believe in one's own strength, patience, and kindness. But when hardship strikes, when frustration, failure, or suffering appear, a person's true nature is exposed. Do they react with anger and bitterness, blaming the world for their troubles? Or do they face challenges with dignity, patience, and perseverance? Hardship tests character, and through that test, it offers a chance for transformation. It shows where one is lacking, where improvement is needed, and where hidden strengths lie. Many of history's greatest figures were shaped by hardship. They did not achieve greatness because life was easy for them. They achieved it because they endured difficulty and used it as fuel to grow. The greatest minds, the strongest leaders, the most resilient survivors all have faced tremendous struggles. What set them apart was not the absence of hardship, but their ability to learn from it, to let it shape them rather than destroy them. They understood that suffering, though painful, could be turned into something meaningful. Hardship also teaches gratitude. Those who have struggled deeply appreciate the good in life more fully. They do not take comfort, success, or happiness for granted because they know what it means to be without them. They understand the value of small joys, the significance of everyday peace, and the importance of what truly matters. Without hardship, it is easy to overlook these things, to move through life with a sense of entitlement or complacency. But those who have faced suffering develop a deeper appreciation for life itself. No one chooses hardship, but everyone has the choice of how to respond to it. It can be seen as a curse or as a teacher. It can be met with resistance and resentment, or with the understanding that within it lies an opportunity for growth. The strongest people are not those who have never suffered, but those who have suffered and refused to be defeated by it. They have learned from pain, adapted to struggle, and emerged not only unbroken but stronger, wiser, and more resilient. In the end, hardship is not the enemy. It is a force of transformation. Those who see it as a teacher will find that it shapes them into something greater. Those who resist it will find themselves trapped in suffering without meaning. The choice is not whether hardship will come, it always does, but whether one will learn from it or be consumed by it. Those who embrace its lessons will find that, though life may never be easy, they will always be strong enough to face whatever comes next. Self-accountability is one of the most powerful traits a person can develop. It is the foundation of personal growth, success, and integrity. Those who hold themselves accountable take ownership of their actions, choices, and consequences, rather than blaming external factors or other people for their circumstances. They understand that while they may not control everything that happens to them, they always control how they respond. This mindset separates those who progress in life from those who remain stuck, waiting for external changes instead of creating their own. A person who lacks self-accountability often looks outward for excuses. They blame their failures on bad luck, unfair treatment, or circumstances beyond their control. While it is true that external obstacles exist, refusing to take personal responsibility only leads to stagnation. Growth requires looking inward and acknowledging where improvement is needed. This does not mean being overly critical or punishing oneself, but rather having the courage to honestly assess actions and attitudes. Without this, there can be no real progress. Self-accountability also builds trust, both with oneself and with others. When a person consistently takes responsibility for their words and actions, people respect them. They become reliable, known for following through on commitments and standing by their principles. In contrast, those who shift blame or avoid responsibility quickly lose the trust of those around them. No one respects someone who always has an excuse or refuses to admit when they are wrong. A person who is accountable earns credibility because they are honest about both their successes and their failures. Beyond external relationships, self-accountability strengthens inner discipline. When someone consistently holds themselves to high standards, they develop the ability to follow through on their goals, even when motivation fades. Many people start with enthusiasm, but abandon their commitments when things become difficult. Self-accountability prevents this by enforcing discipline, even when conditions are not ideal. A person who is accountable does not wait for motivation, they act because they have committed to doing so. This is what separates those who achieve lasting results from those who only make temporary efforts. Owning one's actions also leads to greater resilience. Life is unpredictable and setbacks are inevitable. A person who refuses to take responsibility will see failure as a dead end, something forced upon them by external circumstances. But someone who practices self-accountability sees failure as a lesson. They do not dwell on excuses but instead analyze what went wrong, adjust, and move forward. This approach turns every setback into an opportunity for improvement rather than a reason to quit. Self-accountability also fosters independence. Those who rely on external validation or blame external factors for their failures often feel powerless. They wait for circumstances to change instead of taking action to improve their situation. But those who hold themselves accountable understand that their progress is in their own hands. They take initiative, make decisions, and take responsibility for shaping their own lives. This level of independence creates a sense of control and confidence that cannot be taken away by external forces. Another key benefit of self-accountability is the ability to build a strong moral character. It is easy to make excuses for bad behavior, dishonesty, or broken promises. But those who practice self-accountability refuse to compromise their integrity. They acknowledge their mistakes, make amends when necessary, and strive to improve. This creates a deep sense of self-respect, as they know they are living by their values rather than just speaking about them. Integrity is not about never making mistakes. It is about taking responsibility when mistakes happen and learning from them. Many people underestimate how much control they actually have over their own lives. They believe they are at the mercy of circumstances, other people, or luck. But the truth is, personal responsibility plays the biggest role in determining success, fulfillment, and character. Those who understand this do not waste time complaining about what they cannot control. Instead, they focus on what they can do, taking full ownership of their choices and their path forward. Ultimately, self-accountability is not about being perfect. It is about being honest with oneself, learning from experiences, and taking consistent action toward growth. It is a mindset that, once developed, transforms how a person approaches challenges, relationships, and personal goals. It is the key to self-improvement, resilience, and lasting success. Those who embrace it become stronger, wiser, and more capable of shaping their own lives, no matter what obstacles arise. Change is one of the most fundamental aspects of life, yet many people resist it. They wish for better circumstances, greater success, or personal growth, but they remain stuck in the same patterns, waiting for something external to push them forward. The truth is that change does not happen on its own. It does not arrive as a gift, nor does it force itself upon anyone. Change is a choice, one that must be made with intention and commitment. It requires effort, discipline, and the willingness to step outside of comfort. Those who understand this take control of their own transformation, while those who wait for change to happen to them often find themselves in the same place year after year. Many people believe they are trapped by their circumstances. They blame their environment, their past, or other people for the things they wish were different. While external factors do play a role in shaping one's life, they are never the final barrier to change. The real barrier is the unwillingness to choose differently. A person may feel stuck in an unfulfilling job, an unhealthy lifestyle, or a negative mindset, but at any moment, they have the ability to make a different choice. That choice may not immediately lead to dramatic results, but it sets the foundation for transformation. The biggest obstacle to change is often fear. People fear failure, discomfort, and uncertainty. They are afraid that if they try to change, they might not succeed, and so they convince themselves it is safer to stay where they are. But fear is not a valid reason to avoid change. Growth always requires stepping into the unknown, and those who refuse to take that step remain confined to the same limitations. Choosing change means choosing courage. It means acknowledging fear but moving forward despite it. Comfort is another enemy of change. Many people stay in unfulfilling situations simply because they are familiar. Even when they are unhappy, they prefer the known struggle over the unknown possibility. This is why so many people dream of change but never take action. They wish for different results but continue making the same choices. They tell themselves they will change someday, but unless they make an intentional decision, that day never comes. Real change happens when a person stops waiting and actively chooses to do things differently. The power of choice applies to all areas of life. If someone wants to improve their health, they must choose to change their habits. If they want to advance in their career, they must choose to put in the necessary effort and seek opportunities. If they want to develop better relationships, they must choose to communicate and grow. Every major transformation begins with a simple decision to do things differently. Change does not require perfect conditions. It does not require waiting for the right time. It requires only the willingness to take the first step. Making the choice to change is one thing. Following through is another. Many people start with good intentions but fall back into old habits when things become difficult. This is why discipline is essential. Motivation may fade, but discipline sustains progress. Those who truly commit to change understand that setbacks will happen, but they do not allow those setbacks to define them. They adjust, learn, and keep moving forward. Choosing change is not a one-time decision. It is a series of decisions made consistently over time. Another important aspect of change is taking responsibility. A person who blames others for their situation gives away their power. They convince themselves they have no control, which makes change impossible. But those who take responsibility for their lives understand that while they cannot control everything, they can always control their choices. They do not wait for circumstances to improve, they take action to improve themselves. This mindset shift is crucial because it turns change from something external into something internal. It is no longer about waiting, it is about doing. Excuses are one of the biggest threats to change. People tell themselves they do not have enough time, resources, or ability to change. They convince themselves that now is not the right moment, that they will start later when things are easier. But in reality, there will never be a perfect moment. Life will always have challenges, and those who want to change must do so despite them. The difference between those who transform their lives and those who do not is simple. One chooses to take action, while the other chooses to make excuses. Change is not always easy, but it is always possible. Every person has the ability to make different choices, to step out of their old patterns, and to create a new path. It is not about waiting for permission or the perfect set of circumstances. It is about deciding right now to take control. The choice is always there. The question is whether one will take it or continue waiting for change that will never come on its own. Change is always within reach, but it will never happen without a decision. It is not something that arrives by chance or luck, it is something that must be chosen again and again, despite fear, discomfort, or uncertainty. The power to transform your life has always been in your hands. The question is not whether change is possible, but whether you will choose it. So, stop waiting for the perfect moment, stop making excuses, and start taking action. The life you want begins the moment you decide to create it.